Let her march again. Welcome to the paradise. Far.
4 abrazos y un café. Apenas me desperté y al mirarte recordé que ya todo lo encontré en tu mano, en mi mano. De todo escapamos juntos, ver el sol caer. Vamos pa' la playa, pa' curarte el alma. Cierra la pantalla, abre la medalla. Todo en el Caribe, viendo tu cintura. Tú le coqueteas, tú eres un cabullo. Me gusta lento y contento. Cara al bien.
Maria made landfall early Wednesday on Puerto Rico's southeast coast as a powerful Category 4. Then spent the day clobbering the rest of the island.
Days after Hurricane Maria slammed into Puerto Rico, people are still being rescued.
There's not going to be cell service, electrical service, and in some cases, water for weeks or months. This was a devastating hit from a Category 4, 155-mile-per-hour storm.
First pictures now coming in from Puerto Rico after taking a direct hit. Hurricane Maria slamming into the island, and as you heard, one official saying the island is destroyed.
I'm Wijnen. I'm 25 years old and I grew up in Puerto Rico. I was kind of scared, but not at all, because in Puerto Rico we used to have that kind of storms, like tropical storm and hurricane, so I had no idea of how huge a hurricane could be. So I was so ignorant at that time. When the hurricane hit at first, all the power went out. It started to rain very hard. The wind hurt like a monster. It was the worst sound I heard ever. I will never forget that sound. It was like a monster. It was terrible. I was calm until the windows came to move so bad and the door began to move, and then the water began to enter to the house. So we try to keep calm and then start to cover the windows with plastic bag, like big plastic bags trying to cover all the windows so the water can't came inside. Then we tried to move all the furniture. You can imagine, we were on the living room, all the like mattress that we were using to sleep. We need to move all this stuff, the furniture, to the center so they couldn't get wet. It was a scary panorama, just hearing the sound, the hurricane passing on the water of the on the roof. You can't imagine. Also, the wind was so strong that it literally moved the cars into the wall of the house. So the wind was so strong, and the car started to move to the wall, and then just hit the wall. And well, it was a completely disaster. I miss the beaches. So Puerto Rico looked terrible. Like I said before, it was completely destroyed. Everything was destroyed. We couldn't leave our houses in weeks because there was electricity wire on the roads, trees, and all those stuff that the hurricane blown. We had a communication because of electricity power, because of the cables. Yes, it was a completely disaster. And the beaches also looked so bad, like they were no more that clear that they used to be. And also the sand were more sand than the ones that it should be. Like the water came so bad. But although we have limited resources, we were alive, and it was a thing that we need to be grateful for, because there was a lot of people dying around the island, dying of hunger, dying because they couldn't have their medicines at the right temperature, or even they didn't have the right quantity of medicine necessary for that long, because it were a lot of people that couldn't get out of their houses. In like, I was able to get out like in 3 weeks, but it were so many people that couldn't get out in more time. So you can imagine somebody who needed medicine and can't get out of his house to buy it. So it was a disaster. So regarding my home that was by the sea, after 3 weeks after the hurricane, I was able to reach my house because of the roads were covered with trees and cables and all those stuff. So when I came, I used to have a Porsche that the hurricane completely destroyed. It broke the windows, so the water of the sea can enter to my department. It was seaweed, it was crabs, it was sand in the house. The walls was cracked because of the humidity. It was a completely disaster. Also, my grandparents' house, the one that used to live in a flooded zone, it had like 4 inches of water inside of the house, so they lose everything. They lose every single thing, like their beds, the furniture, the fridge, the ovens, everything, like 4 inches of water, everything like swimming in the house. Like, it was a completely disaster. They lose everything. So it was a hard time for all the community. People who lose everything start to make their own like beds with wood, like my grandparent. They start to make their own beds and all those basic needs. Also, people try to be at home before sunset because of the sunlight. Everybody start to ration in everything, like for example water. I had to wash my body with 1 gallon of water, so it was no more, and sometimes it wasn't any water. Also, we had to take water from the rain in order to flush the toilet. And because of electricity was not working, like I say, the communication was so bad and all those stuff. Also, people have to go out of the house, like walking and on car, just when the roads permit it, because they need to check in on their loved one's house to see if everything was okay. But it was a risk because of the road. You can like be in any risk of a tree or some of the stuff. Also, because of minimum supplies, goods and foods, like I say, in general was scarce. People had to rationalize everything. At first, it looks that he was handling it right, but it was all a lie. After the hurricane, Ricardo Rosselló and his team was the worst thing that could happen to Puerto Rico. When I think about him, just words like inefficiency, irresponsibility, inhumane, it was the worst. When it comes to a natural disaster, government, like, they supposed to help people, they supposed to save lives, like trying to get the water to people, because and more when they had the resources, and they didn't. They just let people die. All the protests, from my perception, all the protests were justified. He, as his government, let us die. Like, they let people die of hunger, having the resources. Like, Ricardo Rosselló makes fun of dead people. He had hidden first aid provision and other donation that never reached the hands of those who need it. Then, years after the hurricane, people found wagons full of water, full of first aid resources, food, and they just didn't give it to the people who need it. Just don't. I don't know why. They let us die having the resources, having a lot of donations ready to just give it to people to share with Puerto Rican who need it, and they didn't. They just hide it. From my perception, they didn't handle as they should do, like they did for Texas, for example. Like they gave us resources, but the resources given were not proportional to the damage and to all the disasters that were happening to us. But also, if the few funds given by the US government were handled properly and didn't misuse and hidden by the government, the story could be other, of course. Absolutely yes. Like a lot of that could be prevented just if the government may handle the resources properly and try not to decide to hide resources that were in needed. Also, if the US government maybe trying to make the same process that they did to other states because of Puerto Rico being territory of the United States, maybe it could be another way to handle the situation properly. The first thing I want to say is that any of the things that I'm saying here can be compared to what we suffered, to the shock of being there. Anything that I say here can be compared. You can't imagine. And the last thing I want to address is that we Puerto Rican already know what it is that our government just let you die. That they have taken us so much that they took away our fear. And after Maria, we were a more awake community and more we had more compassion, and we just never will gonna be the same after Maria.
Aprovecha que el sol está caliente y vamos a disfrutar el ambiente. Vamos a meternos para el agua para que veas que rico se siente. Y vamos a ir tropical por toda la costa.
Vamos pa' la playa, pa' curarte el alma. Cierra la pantalla, abre la medalla. Todo el mar Caribe, viendo tu cintura. Tú le coqueteas, tú eres un cabulla. Vamos pa' la playa, pa' curarte el alma. Cierra la pantalla, abre la medalla. Todo el mar Caribe, viendo tu cintura. Tú le coqueteas, baby, tú estás dura y me gusta. Lento y contento, cara al viento. Lento y contento, cara al viento.
Ay, dale lento, métele violento. Te puse reggaetón pa' que me baje ese cuerpo. Métele hasta abajo, está duro ese movimiento. El único testigo que tenemos aquí es el viento. Y dale, métele cintura, mátame con tu hermosura. Mira cómo me frontea porque sabe que está dura.
Calma mi vida con calma, que nada hace falta si estamos juntitos andando. Calma mi vida con calma, que nada hace falta si estamos juntitos bailando. Vamos pa' la playa, pa' curarte el alma. Cierra la pantalla, abre la medalla. Todo el mar Caribe, viendo tu cintura. Tú le coqueteas, tú eres un cabulla. Vamos pa' la playa, pa' curarte el alma. Cierra la pantalla, abre la medalla. Todo el mar Caribe, viendo tu cintura. Tú le coqueteas, baby, tú estás dura y me gusta. Desde la isla del encanto,
Far,
Lanzai, Pedro Capó,
Georgie Noriega,
Rec 808, Shadow Towers, Puerto Rico.